right, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another Choose Your Path podcast. Today, we are going to be going into the realm of TikTok with Henry from ZardHunt. That's right, he's joining us from TikTok and going over another path in the Pokemon TCG. So, Henry, would you like to do an introduction of yourself?
Hey, yeah, thank you for having me on. This is my first Pokemon podcast. I have a YouTube channel, but still kind of new to long form content. As you said, I mainly post on TikTok and I do a lot of live breaks and consume a lot of Pokemon investing content. So I saw your podcast and I asked if I could be on, and thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. And like I said, I have that open invitation for anybody who'd like to share their path, of course, on the Choose Your Path series and podcasts. It's always welcome to do so. Once again, I want to make this series so that it encompasses all the different directions in the Pokemon TCG. So when you reached out to me, I thought it was a great opportunity, once again, for someone that reached out to bring you on and definitely have you go through your path and what you've done in your direction in the Pokemon TCG and how you've moved forward with that. So the purpose of these interviews, just so everybody knows it's new to the podcast, is to have a discussion on the path of a direction of a PokeTuber, Poke individual, someone in the Pokemon TCG, and how they've continued to move forward in their paths, and also some of the adversities that they may have come up with. So today we have a series of 9 questions that we will go through, and I try to keep the questions all similar between the trades so that you can have a feel for what this path is and how this path may work for you, or if it's something that you would like to look at. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and look at the first questions coming up here. Are you ready to go?
Yes, sir, I'm ready.
All right. So first question we have on the list that I always ask everybody is, what do you do besides Pokemon sales on TikTok?
So my day job is a software developer manager. I work for the government. I don't want to get too specific, but yeah, I work in tech, and I sell Pokemon cards on TikTok. I also buy and sell Pokemon cards on eBay. I have a few other hobbies, like I like to breed rare ornamental freshwater shrimp, which is kind of unusual. And I dabbled a little bit in Lego Star Wars collecting, and that's kind of what got me into Pokemon.
Yeah, it's kind of been interesting with the shrimp. That'd be kind of cool to see the ornamental shrimp. I know
Yeah,
I have a friend that's really big in the saltwater fish too, and he does a lot of the breeding of different mantis shrimps and those kind of things, which is kind of cool.
dude, those mantis shrimp are really crazy. I've actually never had a saltwater tank. You should have seen it, man. I used to have like a whole rack of like 20 aquariums, and it had like different shrimp. And it's kind of funny because like once you start getting into the shrimp hobby, it's kind of like Pokemon. You want to collect them all. So I had like different colored shrimp for each tank. And but I just moved places, so I'm gonna get back into that hobby pretty soon. But I had to tear down all the tanks.
Oh yeah, I suppose because you just said you recently moved, so or had to tear
Yeah.
everything down, of course, to move, which is no fun and a hard process, especially with that much stuff going on. So moving on to the second question. The second question that I ask is, what progression did you make to settle into Pokemon TikTok?
So I was into Pokemon like super casually for a while. Like I would just go to the dollar store or to groceries and I'd get like a pack or two. Like I remember buying Steam Siege and I just like open it when I got home. And I had no idea about the Pokemon hobby. I didn't know cards were valuable. But then COVID hit and I had some more free time. I had some more money. I had just changed jobs, but for some reason I bought some Pokemon cards at Walmart, and I actually still have the card. I pulled this card, which is the
Oh,
full art Caitlin from Chilling Rain.
very nice.
And for some reason I decided to Google it, and I was like, $30? This is worth $35. For some reason that like made it click. And yeah, I was in like collecting and investing Legos for a while, but I just kind of got bored of that. So I was buying a bunch of Pokemon cards after that, and then Evolving Skies came out, and everyone knows like how good of a set Evolving Skies is. So I was buying so much Evolving Skies, and I was spending like thousands a month on Pokemon, and I was like, okay, wait a second, like I can't be doing this. This is way too expensive. Um, and then so I kind of I realized that I enjoyed collecting, but really like I had the most fun opening up packs, and we all know that is not a sustainable endeavor. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but around the same time I had downloaded TikTok, and I hadn't been on like any social media for like 5 years, but I was just scrolling and I saw some of these TikTok people, and I was just like blown away that people would send you money and then you would open the pack for them, and then you sent them the cards, and I was like, why would anyone do that? But I just something clicked, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Like this will allow me to open Pokemon packs, but not go completely broke doing it. So that's kind of what started my journey.
Yeah, and I mean that's absolutely true. You know, whenever anybody started up, even when I came back in 2019, your tendency is to want to open a lot of stuff, and you spend a lot of money really quickly if you're not cautious about it. One of the biggest thing is the proponents, even for my channel, is to make sure you watch budgeting. Because you can, it's really easy to get carried away and get really excited with what's going on, really see what's happening, and lose focus on spending money, and you can actually get yourself into some trouble sometimes if you're not cautious or do not catch it soon enough. So it's always a really big proponent to anything that you're doing and as a hobby is not to get too carried away, because to be 100% honest with you, a lot of people would compare it to even gambling at some point, because you are pretty much risking your money for potentially a expensive card if you can hit it. And realistically, the hit rates don't usually pan out to where you're winning. So at the end of the day, yeah, some people get lucky, buy 10 packs and hit one of the big chase cards right off the bat. I mean, I've even done it on some sets, but in general, it takes hundreds of packs to do so, and the prices really do start to increase rather quickly. Like you said, you could spend thousands of dollars to try and pull a $200 card.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, that's just not in my personality to be like, I guess I'm kind of like have a gambler's personality. So I was trying to budget and limit it, but also like, I mean, I used to collect when I was a kid, right? And you could buy a few packs and like almost complete a set.
Mhm.
But now with Evolving Skies, I was trying to master a set. Evolving Skies and Chilling Reign specifically are giant sets. And like my first goal when I got back was to try to master it. And I was opening booster boxes and I was like, okay, this is not sustainable. So like the hobby has also kind of changed and gotten more expensive in some ways since we were in like fifth grade or whenever I started
Oh yeah,
originally.
and that was a discussion we had with some other people too. Is that I remember we were master setting out like base set in 2 booster boxes. It really took very little to get a master set of Pokemon back in the day. I mean, you had 13 hollows and really a bunch of common, uncommon cards. It wasn't like there was a ton of options inside the boxes, and they really didn't have the depth or the difficulty of the pull rates that we do now. So overall, I mean, what was it? You could open up a base set and really get 9 to 11 hits out of a base set box, and there's only 13 hollows or 15 hollows in base set. So you almost got all of them in one booster box, and that's what we were even laughing, like Charizards. I mean, we had so many Charizards realistically back then that we were throwing them on the pavement, just acting. No card sleeves, no protection on them, nothing. You were just, taking them out of there and playing on the playground on the blacktop. I mean, it wasn't anything. Just go play cards with these things, and you knew you were going to be able just to find another one a little bit later. So, like you said, master sets were never a problem. It's the first thing I did when I came back into. I was guilty of it. Let's try and do master sets of Unbroken Bonds and Unified Minds. And it's like you're opening up 4 booster boxes. Well, now I've only got halfway there. So now you keep trying to open to try and finish it, and you're like, after about 2 sets, it's like, no, this isn't realistic. You cannot realistically finish a master set without either A, spending 5 to 6 grand to do so anymore in a set, or B, just buying the cards you need to fill in the gaps. Have some fun with a budget and then fill in the gaps with what you got, spending the money on it reasonably on that point.
Right, exactly. And then when I first started, like buying singles felt like cheating, or it felt like like it's just so much more fun to pull them. I mean, let's be real, but I buy singles now. Like
Yeah.
but everyone kind of has to go through that journey when they get back in, I feel like, and kind of realize those things for themselves.
Yeah, I think most people, I think if you were to talk to them that jump back in from when they were a kid, probably did the exact same thing. You got to catch them all, right? So you're trying to complete that master set. You're trying to do the slogan of the game, and it's like, no, realistically, you figure it out. I think most people figure it out fairly quickly that it takes a lot. And now, in my opinion, PokeRev does a really good job of it now too. Him trying to finish a master set of whichever the newest set that comes out, and you can see just how many booster boxes he's opening and packs he's opening in order to do that. And sometimes he doesn't even complete it after 75, 100 booster boxes. He still hasn't completed a full set.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good. I never thought of it like that, but just if you sit there and watch him for like 6 hours or however long his streams are,
Yeah.
and you realize, wait, he just spent like $5,000 and he still can't get that Aerodactyl alt art or whatever. That's a
Yeah.
good way to learn that lesson.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just crazy the amount of packs he opened. He still couldn't pull, technically couldn't finish the master set. And then, what was it? The Luminium V alternate art was the other one that was hanging him up for quite a while, also. And that one, I think it was Brilliant Stars or Astro Radiance.
Okay, yeah. I just watched the Lost Origin one, and then I remember the next day that Aerodactyl alt art went up in like triple in value just because
Yeah.
PokeRep couldn't pull it. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, people thought the pull rates were extremely hard, but then other places you were pulling a couple of them in some areas. So it was just funny. Once again, it's just all luck. I mean, realistically,
Yeah.
it's just luck of where you bought the packs and what's inside the packs when you buy them, and that's all. You really have no control over that.
Dude, I just pulled this card today.
Oh, nice.
It's the Korean one though.
Oh, the Korean version.
Yeah.
I thought it
So
was
you can
Japanese.
still get
Yeah.
the Japanese ones worth like 3,000 or 4,000, but you can still get Korean EV heroes for pretty cheap, and you can still hit the Moonbreon, so it's pretty fun opening experience.
And isn't it like the Sylveon that's actually the more expensive of the two of the cards?
I don't know. That's a good question. I
I
just looked up the Korean Moonbreon, and the PSA 10 is selling for like over 1,000. But the Korean card quality isn't very good, so it's like pretty hard to get a 10 in that
okay.
card. But
I just
I'd have
remember
to look up.
someone was saying that they were looking at it and that the Sylveon single was actually higher than the Moonbreon in Korean, and I could be wrong on that, but I thought it was kind of interesting that they have a different like.
I think I kind of like the Sylveon art better. I mean, it's like a hot take, but the Sylveon art's like more fun and bright and with a Pikachu. So I like both of them, but
Personally, I like the Sylveon and I like the Glaceon and Leafeon better. Personally, I don't think that the Moonbrand is the best artwork in that set. Like you said,
yeah.
hot take.
Hot take, yeah.
Hot take for the
game.
hot take for this podcast right off the bat. But yeah, I honestly don't like the Moonbrand art as much as I like the Glaceon and Leafeon arts.
Dude, and then we pulled and this relates to the podcast because I'm pulling this for customers on TikTok. So these aren't my cards. I'm about to send them off tomorrow. But we pulled another hot take is
Yep.
I kind of like this art better because it's like overlooking all the dark Pokemon.
Yeah.
The alt art.
Yeah, and I've pulled that V one twice now, and I love that. I love the V version of it. I have the V Max version of it, but I love the V version.
So yeah, so that's kind of what, to bring it back to TikTok, that's kind of what got started. And then I mean, the biggest thing that TikTok has the advantage is it's kind of like a more of a discoverability platform. So it's much easier to grow on it, or at least it was. It's changed in the 2 years that I've been doing it, but I was able to like quickly get 1,000 followers so that I could start live streaming. And then I was just like within the first one or two streams, they were pretty successful, and I was opening packs for other people and essentially getting paid to do it. And then that dopamine gets addictive. So that's kind of that's why I'm still doing it 2 years later.
Yeah. No, and that's interesting because I have not had that much success on TikTok. Like you said, it's changed a lot in the last 2 years too, which is always a big factor on it. I've been kind of dabbling with it to see, but I also haven't announced it on like YouTube. This is like the first time I've even said anything about it on YouTube, which is I haven't wanted to draw everybody into it because I wanted to see naturally what it would take to do it without the crossover. Because I mean, I could probably put it up on TikTok and Instagram and have people fall down into it, but realistically, I've been wanting to see organically how well it does. And it's a lot more difficult than a lot of people had said it would be, but
Yeah.
once again, they have changed the algorithm, how things progress. Plus, the hobby itself has changed too. So, you might not be putting the right key terms in there or the right hashtags on the videos in order to get the draws that you're really looking for. It's a learning curve.
Yeah. And it's honestly so random, man. Like I listen to all these like gurus that try to explain the algorithm, and it's constantly changing, and like it's honestly just random. Like sometimes they decide to push you out, sometimes they don't. But I think in general it's easier to make short form content, and I think yeah, TikTok kind of got big because it was pushing out people, but now YouTube's doing it with YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, so you can build an audience on those platforms as well.
Yeah. And the nice thing is too is that what I may sometimes build a short for one of them, you can actually put it on all three. So you could actually cross-platform a
Yeah.
short and put it out there for that and get that draw.
And that's what I do. I just post it on all three now.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to mention kind of at the start of the podcast is that and I do spend like a lot of time on YouTube watching the long form content when I'm doing my shipping and whatnot. But I don't, and there's kind of like this disdain for TikTok, and I get it because of how the app started. But people don't realize that there's a marketplace on TikTok. It's called TikTok Shop. It's a new feature. It's still in beta, but there's no fees on this marketplace. So I'm selling Pokemon products with zero fees. And I've sold a lot on eBay, and that like 11, 15% or whatever fee, that really cuts out of your bottom line. So I don't think people, and like TikTok is really pushing out Shop. So if you can get on Shop, they will push out your live streams, they will push out your content. And I've been doing really well on TikTok Shop, and that's like a pretty recent thing that happened in the past month or so.
Do you still have to have the 1,000 followers in order to have access to that, or is that something that's more
I
available?
don't know. I think you need 1,000 followers at
Okay.
least. I'm not sure on the exact uh on the criteria that you need to get access to TikTok Shop, but yeah, it's been pretty great so far for me.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be kind of curious to see. Like I said, I've only got like 100 followers, so it'd take a long time for me to get 1,000. But it'd be interesting to see how that performs over time. That's for sure. Especially with the reduced fees, it's a big factor for when you're trying to sell your investment products or such as yourself, trying to sell your lives and stuff. Not having to pay high fees in order to do so, it gets to be a important factor for the bottom line of your profitability.
Yeah, and it could be huge, especially if you're selling sealed modern product where the profit margins are small. But yeah, if you're selling like longer term investable stuff, the fees aren't as big of a concern. But I really think TikTok is coming for Amazon and eBay. I think they want to overtake eBay as the premier collectibles marketplace. They recently recruited one of the top eBay managers from the trading cards and collectibles space to the TikTok team, and I mean, it's the biggest social media app. Like over half of America's on TikTok. So I really do think that they want to be a big player, and they're coming for it. Like Whatnot is like small fish compared to Amazon or eBay. And I think they're coming for the Amazon and eBay to be the premier collectibles marketplace.
Well, hopefully they run it
I know
better
that's
than
kind of
Whatnot.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, we could get on a whole nother video on that.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, like I said, it's just interesting to see how that's going to play out and how everything's going to work on that. I definitely hope the best for it because it would be nice to have a good platform to have that sales, especially for streamers and even, your typical investors and things like that, or your collectors trying to move product and sell things would definitely be great to be able to get away from some of these fees. Like you said, TCG player, 13% fee, eBay is 13%, and most other ones are the cheapest other one that I could think of is Facebook, and that's still 7.5% out of your bottom line by selling through that
Yeah.
their marketplace. So, I mean, overall, you're still losing a good chunk of change at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you can always do those deals where like you can do it outside the platform to avoid the fees, or you can do it in person, but that's a lot more work. You have to do like more messaging and stuff. So I think that route is good for like the people that are just buying like sealed product and sitting on them for like more than 6 months to a year. But I kind of describe myself as more of a flipper. So the fees are really can really get you.
Yeah. All right. So next question we got today is going to be, what was the final deciding factor that made you choose this direction?
Yeah. So I mean, we just kind of got into that. I really believe in TikTok and the power of the app and like how many people use it. So that's like been my primary focus. I don't really like some of the other social media platforms, but I mean, to answer your question, that's kind of why I've been focusing on TikTok. Also, I just like have had success there. I've had some really good videos that got me a lot of followers. My lives generally do pretty good there, but I'm constantly shifting like what I want to do. This is still like a side business, side hobby, side hustle. So I kind of want to do stuff that I have fun at. So I kind of realized through TikTok that I really do enjoy creating content. So I'm going to get back into making long form content on YouTube. I think it'll be kind of like a more like talking podcast style. Um, but I kind of like keeping the rip and ships, like keep doing those because you can do it to create content to build like cool clips that you pull in cards, and it's fun like connecting with your community through the live streams. So I'll definitely keep that up, but I'm still kind of just experimenting like where I want to take this hobby and what my journey is kind of shifting all the time.
And no matter what, I think at the end of the day, a lot of people will continue to shift through this hobby. As markets change, as personalities change, as time changes, everything continually is in flux. So that's where, even on this podcast, I said it'd be kind of cool to kind of visit some of the people in a year or 2 years down the road to see, have they continued in this direction, or have they completely shifted their direction and gone a different way. So even for like even myself, going from more of a 6 month type of person holding product to possibly going years, and that's something that could still be in, by the time it lays out and the markets change and things shift, you might go from, like you said, more of a flipper investor into a full out investor, because you will be sitting on some things for a long period of time with great potential that's built up behind it. So things will change, people will change the direction, and as time moves on, you're continually trying to adjust to what's happening in the bigger market overall.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a constantly changing hobby. And I mean, that's what keeps it fun, right? Pokemon's always coming out with a new set, always coming out with a new mechanic, new type of Pokemon, whatever. So you definitely got to be able to adapt and change with the hobby if you want success in it.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. All right. Moving on to the next question, which is going to be a fourth question for tonight, which is estimate per hour worked to income per month on your online sales. And like I said, this is just kind of
Yeah.
a guesstimate to give people a feel for what they could potentially see by doing this direction.
Yeah. And so yeah, it's still a side hustle. So I work like a normal 40 hours a week. And I don't really enjoy accounting. So I finally got an accountant last year, but I did gross like 250K last year, so a quarter million in sales. I try to keep my profit margins around 10 to 20%, but I had a lot of my profit. I just like bought more product. So it's really hard to see like how much I made, especially per hour. I probably averaged about like 20 hours a week. Some weeks I would work like 40 hours in addition to my 40-hour day job. Some weeks I would take breaks. I also like got married and bought a house and did a honeymoon. So I would take long breaks. So it's really hard to estimate it hourly, but it probably last year, and that was my first year doing it full time for a whole year. I probably made like 20 to 40K on 20 hours a week on average, I'd say. Um, but I ended up like selling a lot of my collection, a lot of my sealed products. So basically, I would just like reinvest the profit I made back into Pokemon. But I ended up selling a lot of that at the beginning of 2023 so that I could buy this house that we just moved into. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be pretty common that if you put the hours into it and you set yourself up right, there definitely seems to be a good opportunity in a lot of the markets right now, to be able to pull out, even have, like you said, part time, between $20,000 and $40,000 for an individual. And let's be honest, for a hobby and a side job, that's actually really good profitability. $250,000 in sales, that was pretty impressive. I mean, that's
yeah, and that I mean that's what grind, dude. That's grinding on the live streams. And like I can do live streams where I sell like 3,000 worth of Pokemon products in like an hour or two. But yeah, I kind of got tired of like the grind. It's a lot of work. People don't realize how much work like shipping, sourcing the product. It's a lot of work involved. So I kind of try to dabble into the more like I don't do investing because I don't really, I mean, I kind of do investing, but I kind of try to dabble more into like the flipping and grading singles plays. because that was kind of like less time spent streaming and doing all the other stuff with shipping and stuff. But yeah, it's really hard to estimate how much money I've actually made, which I probably should like hunker down and spend a lot of time on the accounting, but that's not as fun as opening Pokemon packs. So
No, not at all. Stick with the power or with the Pokemon packs. It's a lot more fun that way.
yeah.
Your accountant doesn't like that, but I know my accountant doesn't like me sometimes.
Yeah. I
For,
had the first year I had like some really wonky spreadsheets and stuff, but
yeah,
and definitely hire an accountant. That's good advice because you can take off so much tax write-offs on like on your internet, on your cell phone bill, on part of your rent, part of your mortgage. So yeah, my accountant saved me a lot of money last year.
yeah, it's something that I highly recommend that if you have done your own taxes for a long period of time, get an accountant because they can really find the loopholes, the discounts, the deductions and things that you would never even think are possible. Um, and once again, personally, I don't ever want to have an IRS agent show up at my door, questioning
Yeah.
my spreadsheets that I use to calculate beforehand. So my accountant did pretty good though. She gave me a spreadsheet to use, so I didn't want to do like QuickBooks or anything fancy for my Pokemon business or hobby. But she did give me a nice spreadsheet that I just continue to fill out every month, and then every quarter I bring it to her, and she just kind of keeps. I have a business accountant anyway, so she just kind of incorporates this on the side with my business accountant. So at the end of the year, definitely find an accountant, have them give you what they need, exactly how to lay it out, and then it's amazing what they can do for deductions to keep you from paying Uncle Sam a ton of money and keep them from your doorstep.
Yeah. And just like, I mean, honestly, just having a business like gives you a lot of opportunity. Like, for instance, if you wanted to go to Collecticon, you could write that off as a business expense. If you're meeting with your colleagues and your peers and you're talking about Pokemon business, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an LLC, but yeah, you could write that trip off as a business expense. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm just or a sole proprietor, and those kind of things are completely tax write off too. So just because you don't have to be an LLC, you don't have to go into that kind of structure. You can just be a sole proprietor in this end of the business and be just fine. Um, like I said, realistically, my accountant even said for an LLC, it didn't quite make sense for me because probably nobody's coming to my house. I'm not having things at my home or my business areas where someone could get hurt. Number one. Number two, if someone gets killed with a booster box of Pokemon cards that they purchased from me, it's probably going to be events that I had no control over. It isn't anything that I'm producing. It was just their time, like she said. So realistically, the limited liability protection really isn't necessary for this type of business in your own home until you have people coming onto your residence.
yeah, yeah, I formed an LLC and I don't. It definitely was not necessary. I didn't need. And my accountant told me that I should have like a S corp or a C corp, but yeah, I I don't know. I'm not like I need to get into that, and I need to pay my taxes quarterly. But there's just, I mean, when you're doing this on the side, there's always like a laundry list of to do items. So
Yeah, you always find something more that you have to be definitely looking at when you're moving. And your accountant will continue to find things every year too that change based on tax laws and everything else. So it's continually changing in that front too. All right. So the next
cool.
question we got that's coming up here is what avenues did you use for product for opening on TikTok?
Cool. Yeah. So how do I source my product? I started mid-COVID. I know you were around. If anyone was around, they know it was like impossible to find products in in stores. I mean, sealed product was so rare back then. So I was doing the thing where I was like on Pokemon deal alerts on Twitter, and they'd be like, "Oh, Target just restocked." I'd drive to Target. I'd like talk to the manager and be like, "When are you restocking?" But that just got like way ridiculous, way too fast. So then I started buying on a lot of different online stores, and I just kind of find like the best deals. And even the online stores would sell out really quickly. But that's kind of what I did for a while. I bought on eBay, and I did. You can upload your like resale certificates, so you don't have to pay sales tax on eBay, which is another huge tip I would recommend everyone doing. But then I was doing eBay for a while, and then I kind of was like trying to go to the next level, and I was trying so hard to get a distributor but it's actually extremely difficult if you're not grandfathered in. So a lot of these like OG pokey business people, they started before COVID, and pretty much anyone could get distribution back then. You didn't have to do anything special. But now with the shortage of Pokemon cards, after COVID, they pretty much require you to have a brick and mortar. There's people that don't have brick and mortar, either they're grandfathered in or they know someone at a distribution company. So I applied to every single one of them, and they all turned me down. And then I met people that have distribution, and I was going to buy a business because she had distribution. She got it before COVID, and I was actually in the process of buying the business to get the distribution, just pretty much just to get the distribution. But they denied the transfer of the license. The distributor did, Alliance Games, so that didn't work out. So I stopped trying to get distribution at this time, and I just networked with people that have distribution, and they kind of give it to me for like I make sure that they make some money, but they give it to me for a discounted price. But I'll be honest, like if you look online, if you look at these deals, you can get Pokemon sealed product for distribution price, maybe like $5 more than distribution. Like maybe they're paying like 75, but you can get it for like 80. But you have to buy it by the case, and you have to find these deals and stuff. So yeah, that's how I'm getting my products lately. And then on my streams, I do a lot of Japanese. I do some Korean. The good thing about that is there's no distribution there. So you, I would suggest like looking on Instagram and looking at hashtags if you're trying to find a Japanese supplier. And you're gonna have to message a lot of them. You're gonna have to buy from some bad suppliers and learn some lessons to kind of find the right ones. But people are pretty secretive once they find a good Japanese supplier.
Yeah, it makes sense because that's one thing I've had no luck personally being able to find is a Japanese supplier. I've looked a couple times, kind of ventured into it to see if there was some opportunities there, and it's just really difficult. Once again, I've never hidden the fact that I've got ties with an LGS. Once again, I helped them out. It took years. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't an easy thing, and it was more of a chance to really get in, even with the LGS locally. But the fact of the matter is, like you said, that's probably your best avenues that I found to be able to get product at a reasonable price and almost guaranteed for product. So there's always that benefit that if you do get them with one, you can get product, and they're willing to usually hold up their end of the bargain. That they, you need 2 cases of something, you'll pay for it ahead of time, and then when they get it, you pick it up, and they're not gonna sell it because it's going up super high. And that's another big trust factor you got to get with some individuals in order to do that, because distributors aren't possible. I know so many individuals such as yourself that have tried and tried and tried and tried to get in with a distributor, and plain out said no unless you had a brick and mortar. And even then, like you said, I know some of them that started a brick and mortar, and they would give them Magic, they would give them Yu-Gi-Oh, they would give them, he could get everything, and they wouldn't give him Pokemon still. So
Oh, that's brutal, man. Yeah,
yeah,
like I was thinking about leasing an office space, but then I was like, okay, I lease office space. I pay like 10,000 to renovate it, and then there's a chance they still won't even give me just so.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, that's
I do think a
exactly
lot of
what
people like
happened.
get and like I think distribution offers a ton of possibilities, but I do think people also get hung up on it. Like you don't need it to have a Pokemon business. But also I do want to mention I do buy a ton from LGSs, and they don't give me like a discounted price, but it's nice to be able to just like drive my car and pick up the cards as opposed to having to wait for shipping times. And I like to support the LGSs. So I still buy a lot from the LGSs as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get it at distributor price from them. They definitely do mark it up a little bit from distributor pricing. They need to make some money for doing it, of course.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
not against that at all. I mean, of course, I'm not expecting freebies either. I mean, they have to make a little bit of markup. But, even like my distributor said, he just adds 2 more to the order or whatever I want to the order extra. Hopefully he gets it, because sometimes they cut his order, like they did with Scarlet and Violet. They cut his order down, so I ended up just giving him my portion of it, just because I was trying to help him too. And there's always that relationship of give and take with LGSs. I will say that if you're continually taking from them and just making it all about you, they will stop supporting you. But if you're willing to work with them and you pay a little extra, you help them out when you can, they're definitely more willing to help you out and continue to help you because they want to see you succeed as much as they want to succeed at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's totally a business relationship, which is transactional by nature. Like you have to give to receive, and I mean, rent is not cheap anymore. So they're paying to have a brick and mortar shop. So you definitely, yeah, it's a you got to make it beneficial for them as well.
Yeah, I mean, it has to go both ways, or it's just not going to be a long lasting relationship between the two of you. So, like I said, don't expect freebies. You know, pay a little bit extra, but there again, you buy cases worth and they order it ahead of time. They're usually more willing to work with you. And like I said, I just got lucky because I helped them out when they got buried in that product back at the end of 2021. So, once again, it took from 2019 to 2021, end of 2021, in order to actually be able to get a relationship. So 2.5 years of working with them in order to get that opportunity to help them out and give them the cash flow back that they needed for purchasing product off of them to allow me in the door with them to continue a relationship and continue moving forward. So it's not just going to happen overnight either.
Yeah. But wait, into 2021, that's when Evolving Skies was like 90 a box, right?
$99 a box. Yep.
Yeah, I bought a bunch at 90 a box and I was like, I can't believe this is that low. And I still hesitated. I was like, why is this low? Is Pokemon crashing? And at the time everyone was like, Sealed Modern is crashing, but I still bought a few cases and
Yeah.
now it's like 400 a box or something or
Well,
five. Yeah.
that was the time when, so what was it? Brilliant. So Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, and Celebrations all came out with massive reprints right all
Yeah.
at the same time, with Fusion Strike also coming out like 3 weeks later after Celebrations. So the
Yeah. And then it
LGSs
was
were just strapped because they got everything that they had pre-ordered or ordered prior when they were trying to like lie and, you know, I'm going to order 300 cases, but I only want 150 because they always cut my order by half. So then they fulfilled all them orders. So it's like all this product came at once. And he said, you know, he called me up because I gave him my number saying that if he ever had any extra or needed to move some product, give me a call or had any good cards. And he called me up. And like I said, I had cash and I was willing to. That time he did sell it to me for his cost because, like you said, I need the cash back. I can't pay bills. I can't do anything with this much money out on product. You know, it's going to take months to flush this out of my building. So he said I can't sit on it. So I was able to help him out, at least give him some breathing room at the end of the day. And that's since then we've had a kind of a good relationship between the two of us working.
Dude, I mean, you definitely benefit from that transaction too. Like this hobby is so crazy, man. Like
Yeah,
how can we go from like never being able to buy any product? You couldn't get
no,
Celebration, you couldn't get anything on the shelves. Like 1 to 2 months later, there's like flooding it, and it's like 85 or it was like $80 for Battle Styles booster boxes, 99.90 for Evolving Skies. And
yeah.
then
I mean,
now, yeah, it's just it changes all the time. And it's a very weird market. You can't predict or anything.
no, you can't. It's continually changing, and once again, you're up against the wall with, you know, Pokemon being a distributor. They're continually changing their outputs, and now they're opening new markets because now they're sending to China. So once again, they made 9 billion cards again this year, which got everybody like, oh my god, they're doing 9 billion again. But it's like, yeah, but they opened up a whole new country with, you know, 3 billion people in it. So overall, they have more avenues for those 9 billion cards to go to. So there's always that changing also on their end for, and then once again, Sword and Shield products have been really difficult to find still. We get reprints, but they're not massive reprints any longer. They're very mild to low reprints actually for the demand of those specific products that are out there currently.
Yeah, and that Chinese market, like that is gonna shape the future of the hobby because I've been selling a lot of graded Japanese and also English slabs on eBay to Chinese buyers because you
Mm-hmm.
can see, and so just getting more people into Pokemon, I think that's gonna benefit every single sub market within the hobby.
Yeah, and I mean they picked one of the biggest markets in the world too to open
The
up to.
biggest, yeah,
The
yeah.
biggest, I mean, open up to for Pokemon. So once again, it's a huge move for Pokemon, and it's really making a big factor when it comes to absorbing that huge amount of card printing we're seeing currently. All right, moving on to the next one. What is the one mistake you've made that you could advise others to avoid in your area?
So that's a really good question. I think for me personally, I've gotten really burnt out just because the nature of ripping ships. You have to be on stream, you have to be like super high energy, and then you have to do the shipping. And then I was also like, my day job was getting more stressful. So I would avoid people to just like manage your time and really try to keep everything balanced so that you don't get burnt out. Because after I got burnt out, I basically didn't want to do any Pokemon for like multiple weeks. And I always come back, but I mean, that's just kind of like generic life advice, is try to balance everything. Another big thing is like, I wish that I started to kind of get those like business connections, but also that's how you're going to make friends in the hobby and like create memories. So that's something that I'm trying to work on this year. I want to get to some of the conventions. I want to start doing podcasts like this just so I can get my face out there a little bit more and meet more people in the hobby.
Yeah, and I mean it's really good to start to move along a little bit more. I notice that the more you play with other platforms, the more that you kind of cross market yourself, the better whichever one you're focused on seems to do. The harder I push, of course, the harder that I push on Instagram, the more that I get back on Pokemon. The more we're in Discord and do more in Discord, the more I get back into YouTube. So it's like you get that correlation where, yeah, you're not going to get everybody from Instagram over to YouTube, and you're not going to get everybody from YouTube over to Instagram, but they do kind of cross feed each other and really do. They start seeing you more and more in different locations, and they start to see more, validity to you as a brand. So you start to get moving forward. Once again, I'm with you this year. Looks like I'm going to try and get to North Carolina. That's the goal this year for Collecticon. So that's going to be the one that my wife and I are probably going to be going to here. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Possibly Denver this year. Depending on how the seasons work out up here in northern Wisconsin, we're kind of at the mercy of, the overall climate and, of course, how the farm's operating. So we'll be seeing where we're at that point in time. But hopefully Denver, but it sounds like we're going to North Carolina now for sure. Sounds like that one's going to be for sure for us. So it'd be fun to go and cross market and work with other collectors, people I've been talking to for years on YouTube, and now being able to actually meet them and sit down and have discussions in person.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been to one. I was supposed to go to Dallas, but then like that was right when we are moving houses and stuff. So I'm looking at Long Beach and Houston for the rest of the year. But definitely love to meet you at one sometime. Or but I mean, also, you don't have to network in person. Like just like getting on Discord calls with people, or just like messaging people is a good way to network as well.
Oh, absolutely. Discord to me is really big. Especially if you get into certain groups and certain different Discord groups. There's definitely a lot of Pokemon enthusiasts in there. Definitely really good directions and a lot of information being shared between a lot of different people in the hobby. So if you are not on Discord, you are really enthused about this hobby, you're doing yourself a little bit of a disservice at that point. Definitely a hotbed for some information, deals. Like you said, you can find some really good Pokemon deals. You can find some really good information. If you're whatever realm you're in, there's definitely some great opportunities that are running around underneath that people just don't see if they're not in those actual Discord groups.
Yeah, for sure. I've learned a lot from Discord.
So, all right, now here comes the big question that follows up on that. What was your make or break moment in the Pokemon hobby thus far?
I'm trying to. I don't know if I have like one. I mean, I think like pulling that Caitlin that I talked about at the beginning of the podcast, like that really kind of got me into Pokemon. That was a make it moment. Make it or break it. I don't know. I mean, I've definitely just gotten burnt out, man. Like, um, we were planning a wedding. I was trying to buy a house. We were planning a honeymoon, and I was trying to do my full-time job and the side hustle, the live streams. And it just got to a point where I had to cut out the Pokemon live streams for like 3 or 4 months. And I definitely like lost a lot of my regular community. A lot of like, when you start doing these streams, you'll have the same people that are coming back every time, and if you take a break, you'll lose a lot of those people, unfortunately. So I did come back. I'm back to streaming regularly now. But yeah, I'd say that's kind of like the make it or break it moment, when I just got so busy with my real life responsibilities that I had to drop Pokemon for a time. But I always knew in the back of my mind that I come back.
It, and that's just it. I mean, I haven't gotten to that point yet, since 2006. I would say that would be my make it or break it was back in 2006 when I finally left the hobby. Um, in general, life was just getting too busy, and I was a young adult. I had way too many ambitions in different directions, and Pokemon was a game at that point. It wasn't like the hobby it is now. A lot of the people that I had known playing Pokemon had come and gone, and realistically, most people that started in '99 did not make it to 2006. Most of them were long gone by then, but I enjoyed it that
Yeah.
much. I mean, I loved it. I love playing Pokemon. I love the community, the people I was playing with, but you're sitting there in a room for a tournament, for a regulation tournament, and the people you knew are all gone, and the room is only a quarter of the size of what it used to be. So it's not like you're flushing in new people where it was staying interesting either at that point. It was just becoming kind of a stagnant hobby at that point. We were losing a lot of people in those tournaments, losing a lot of individuals in that hobby. So it got to a point where it's like, okay, I can focus on my career. I can focus. I was meeting, I was getting in relationships at that point, outside personal relationships, my career, home, there's a lot of things going on. And it was like, yeah, that was kind of my make or break. And I just went, nope, Pokemon's going to have to go on the back burner. And, I sold all my stuff, which I still kick myself in the butt for because I do know the individual that still has all of my stuff. I talked to him. He still has all of my stuff, but he will not sell it back to me for the price I sold them to him.
Yeah, I bet not.
Base set
Probably
booster
worth a lot
boxes
more.
for $400. They're 350, $400. Yeah, he won't give them
He
back
still
to me
has
for that price, huh?
he still has some sealed.
He actually still has the ones I sold him from back in
Jeez.
2006. He has
What's he waiting for to sell them? I mean, I would have sold those a while, but I
he
guess they're
just
only gonna go
he's
up.
a, he's
I
the same
guess.
as me though. I mean, he's continued to play. He's enthusiastic about it. He's probably going to go to the grave. His kids will end up selling him at some point in time,
That's
or I'll
another
just
thing that I
oh,
mean, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to like what you reminded me. Like, I actually learned how to play. I knew how to play the game as a kid, but I learned how to play the game, Scarlet and Violet pre-release event. And if you're just a collector, if you're just a business person, I would suggest learning how to play the game and going to one of these pre-release events. They're super casual, but it also gives you like a different perspective and a different appreciation for the hobby.
yeah, and it gives you different opportunities to see avenues in the hobby. Also, a lot of times, even myself, I sell a lot of bulk, but I can really focus on certain bulk cards I know will do really well because I understand the game. You understand a
Yeah.
tournament play, you understand what people are going to be using to build decks, and you can, like you said, I was opening Scarlet and Violet, and I was seeing already playable cards that I thought would do extremely well in someone's deck. They're going to want this card. They're going to need this card. They're going to, it gives you a new appreciation, and it gives you a new vision of the overall hobby itself. If you can actually go and it's awesome being able the last 2 years going into one of these, like my LGS and seeing 50 to 75 people there for pre-release events. That hasn't happened in forever. Even 2019, you'd go in there and there was like 5 of us. I mean, the
Yeah.
pre-release events were nothing. There was nobody. They weren't coming until 2020, and then of course COVID
Yeah.
happened and locked us out.
Yeah, and like the one I went to, there was reps from the Pokemon company there. So they're definitely like trying to push it. And yeah, I just gained a new appreciation. I mean, this hobby is supposed to be fun, so it was honestly good fun.
Yeah, no, and that's just it. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and the more that you can explore, the more you can go into it. There's definitely ways to build the hobby and have a lot of fun. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. And once again, that prevents that burnout too. If you're doing new things and you're constantly changing what you're doing, you get more appreciation and you tend not to burn out because it's something new. Your brain's not fried because you're doing repetitive things over and over and over again. You can see a new appreciation. Have fun, relax, have meet some new people, have good discussions, and it changes your aspect on things.
Yeah.
No. All right, moving on to number 8. Number one most important thing if you're going to start a Pokemon business. And I have on here, of
I,
course. Oh, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, I was gonna say examples of that would be like community, networking, or family.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I mean just going into what we were just talking about, like having fun, having passion, making sure that stays alive, like avoiding burnout. Just make sure I mean just remind this is supposed to be a fun hobby. If you're just sitting there like grinding singles or if you're doing packing for like 6 hours, um, take a break, go hang out with someone or do something different. But I think like having that passion, making sure that you keep it fun, and also consistency are like the most important things for having a Pokemon business, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, any business in general, consistency is always going to be the number one priority you're going to hear from most people.
Yeah,
Inconsistency is the one thing that'll really damage your business at the end of the day. Like you said, if you're planning on being there every Tuesday from 4 to 6, then you better be there every Tuesday from 4 to 6, because if you miss, regular people just have no tolerance for inconsistency of that date. If you're going to change, make sure that everybody knows the change and stay consistent on that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's definitely been one of my biggest or one of my weaknesses is consistency. And yeah, like missing times that you're gonna say you're gonna be online or up like regular upload schedules can damage you for sure.
Yeah.
But as long as you come back, you're good, you know? Just never give up. You can't be a loser if you keep going.
Well, no, that's just it. I mean, it, if you do screw up, I mean, let's be honest, you can always go and rebuild again. Most of the time, in this hobby, as long as you're honest and truthful and a good individual, you have the opportunity to rebuild. If you disappear for, like you said, for 3, 4 months, and all of a sudden you come back, I mean, we see so many people in this hobby disappear for months on end, and all of a sudden come back and they're just as successful because they have good information. You're a good personality. You're doing the right things. You're not showing up, getting really popular, taking money, and disappearing. You're actually working with your community. There's always an opportunity to rebuild again in this community, I mean, as long as the trust is still there.
For sure. And I think like with that, it's like good communication skills. Like if like I try to tell my community that hey, like life's getting too insane with this wedding. Like I'm gonna not be able to stream for a while, maybe, and then like I'm moving, I'm not gonna be able to stream. So as long as you like kind of give people a heads up, and then once you come back, kind of explain why you were gone, like people, I mean, people are gonna understand that you're human, and sometimes you need to take breaks because real life happens. So
Oh, absolutely. Everybody, I think most people have an understanding of this hobby that this is usually a hobby for most people. And let's be honest, if you need a break and go do something that's important in your life, then they usually are very supporting of that, actually. They don't hold it against you, and you can definitely have opportunities. All right,
for
moving on
sure.
to the next one. And no, last one for the night. Knowing what you do now, would you still start your Pokemon TikTok business if given a redo in life?
Yeah, I mean, I would say definitely yes. Like, I feel like the Pokemon side hustle is kind of like a core part of my identity now. And I mean, I think I don't know if I'll forever just be like mainly on TikTok or what I'm trying to say is that I think the business and my Pokemon journeys will morph over time, but definitely want Pokemon to be a part of my life for the rest of my life. And super glad that I got into it.
And that's a pretty common answer. I mean, like I said, out of all the interviews I've done so far, only one person said that they would change. But most of us pick our direction, and we enjoy our paths. Myself, I enjoy my path. Most people you talk to, there's a reason we took this way, and it's because it's what we enjoy the most, and that's the biggest factor. Is in the main scheme of Pokemon is you do what you enjoy. There's like basic trainer said, you're on a freeway and there's 100 different lanes, and you could literally pick any which one you want to go on and follow the journey and just enjoy it. There's no one telling you have to stay on a certain lane. You can switch at any time, and it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that this hobby is so big and you can focus on Japanese, you can focus on vintage or modern or on playing the game. Like so there's a lot to explore in this hobby. It keeps it interesting for sure.
Or just enjoy the anime. I mean, there's a lot there's a lot of different aspects to this hobby, which makes it also big. It makes it a great IP for that particular reason.
Dude, I just rewatched I think the second what's the second movie with Lugia? Is that the first movie? I can't
Pokemon
remember.
2000.
Yeah, dude, that movie's so good, man. Like going back, I was like, holy. Because I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, but that's a really good movie.
Yeah. Well, when Jacob got a little bit older, we started watching from the beginning all the series. So we finally got up to. We just finished Sword and Shield now, so we're finally through the journey or master journey. I have not seen the new ones yet. I'm having a hard time myself wanting to break that seal, just because of the changes in the anime. I'm a little bit hesitant right now, but I'm sure Jacob will want to go into it, and I'll eventually end up watching it. But
Yeah, I was gonna say if your kid likes it, and like, I mean, that's kind of like a good thing to end on. Is like my goal. I mean, we don't have kids right now, but I just got married like 8 months ago. But we're thinking about trying for a kid soon, and kind of my goal is to share the Pokemon hobby with my future kids. Ideally, they like Pokemon. I mean, I'm not gonna force it on them,
no,
but to me, like that's like the most beautiful part of this hobby is that it's cross generational, and you see all these stories of father son, father daughter, mother, whoever, like enjoying the hobby with their kids, and that's kind of like my dream.
yeah, like I said, Jacob enjoys it. I mean, the channel's going more informational, but even on TikTok, some of the videos he opens Pokemon cards over on TikTok too. So it gives me an opportunity to give him that ability to be opening cards on camera, which he does enjoy. And like I said, I've always kind of envisioned eventually that he would start taking a channel or making a channel of his own and start going his own direction on it. Because granted, I'm more analytical and I'm very much driven on different concepts than maybe he would be if he got into it.
Yeah, I remember. I think I saw one of your videos, and you mentioned that that's kind of like why you started a channel is to show your son that anyone can do it. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. I want to talk to
Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah. Well, that was my first videos where literally, Jacob was like watching Leonhardt and he said, I wish we could do this stuff. He said, you got all this Pokemon stuff and we do open Pokemon cards all the time. I wish we could do YouTube like that. And I said, why can't we? So I went and grabbed the cheap streaming camera and I went and bought some whatever I could find at the store at the time because I only had stuff. Actually, most of my stuff at that point was sold out because that boom, I sold the majority of my stuff that I had just because it was perfect opportunity to do it and it wasn't going to hold those prices forever. And I think most people knew it that had any idea how markets work. So we were all kind of selling out, but yeah, trying to find stuff at the store just to open whatever it was and making a video on it because why not? That's a great opportunity for him to see that hey, there's an opportunity to do it if you just put your mind to it and do a little bit of work, a little bit of setup, and you could move forward.
And to bring it back to the business, like I think, I mean, when you see kids that love Pokemon so much, like that, Pokemon's a really smart company. They don't get enough credit, but like they are hooking the young kids so that like that just makes it like a safe investment to start a Pokemon business to invest in the actual cards. Like when you see that they're hooking the next generation of kids, like Pokemon's going to be fine for another 30 years or more. So
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, that's the most difficult part of any collectible at the end of the day is, it's only as good as the generation that's here now. You have to hook that next one somehow, because if you don't, then it's going to die as soon as, like I said, first base set Charizard will only hold value as long as we're alive. You know, my son's not going to spend that much money on a base set Charizard, first edition. He don't care. And that's the hardest argument that you have when it comes down to it is that even as an investment or a business, you have to be trying to look forward for those things, not necessarily looking back at what you would buy. And that's a hard concept sometimes for people.
for sure.
So, all right. Well, we made it through the 9 questions, and thank you for your time on that for sure. I know some of them can kind of be a little bit of a brain tease to get through them. Now, what I always do is I always open up to any kind of free discussion or additional questions that you may like to add, or anything you'd like to discuss freely here at the end of this.
Well, thank you for having me on. I mean, it's been great. We've had lots of little side conversations. What do you think of 151? Have you opened it, the Japanese set yet, or you You waiting for English?
I have my reserve in on the box for the print to order one, but I have not opened it yet myself.
What's that? What print to order? What do you mean?
Well, where you went online and did the order for it.
Oh, like for the UPC, the
No, 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 no. For Pokemon 151 in Japanese, you had to go and do that order. You know, you went on and make the go through the account and order a Japanese set, which is now in order status or whatever. So they were gonna anybody that ordered a booster box in 151 was guaranteed to get it. They were gonna print them to whatever orders they had for it.
I forgot. Yeah, they're getting print to order. I forgot. I haven't done that yet. I haven't set up like a Tenso account or whatever.
Okay.
Um, I usually just use like a supplier, but I should probably do that
Yeah.
because the market price is a lot higher than the $40 MSRP or whatever.
Oh yeah. That's why I did it. I figured to get one box in 151, it was definitely worth. You know, I had the account, so I just went and did the order for it. So yeah, like I said, they said it was print to order, not the lottery system like it was in the last batch. But no, I have not personally opened any 151. I did purchase some cards from 151, so I do have some of them coming for my collection that I wanted to get, just to be sure that I could get them before the prices went up, or potentially the prices are probably technically going to fall. But if they get that big print to order, depending on how many orders there are, I'm sure there's going to be a pretty heavy order on 151 in Japanese. But I'm excited for it. I think that the English version is going to do extremely well. I think that might finally be the set that draws a majority of people into Scarlet and Violet era, which will really change the market dynamic and really be interesting to see how it plays out. Whether they just come for 151 and then leave is going to be interesting to see, or are the illustrator arts and SARs going to finally take hold and have more people looking for them. So kind of curious to see how it's all going to play out when Scarlet and Violet 151 hits here in the English version.
Yeah, it'll be here before we know it. I'm definitely hyped for the English one. I've opened a lot of the Japanese, and it's one of the most fun sets to open I've ever opened. Like compared, like opening vintage is more fun. This is a really fun set to open, and I know a lot of people they're saying that they're waiting for the English one. I'm a little bit concerned on the English one because they're like some of the best cards they're just making promos, like the
I know.
Mewtwo and the Zapdos. And then
I know.
I wonder, are they gonna do Master Ball? Because we just pulled this. This is going for like 300 to 500. This is the Master Ball Pikachu.
Yep.
But are they gonna use it in English? Because this
I
is
don't
like
know.
one of my favorite parts of the set, honestly.
That I don't know. I would highly doubt it because we've seen it time and time again, even in Sword and Shield, where they get specialty like the brick. I always call it the brick reverse pattern. They get a lot of those different reverse patterns, and we just never see them. They don't put them in. They don't do anything but the stock reverse pattern here in English, while Japanese will get all those different flashy reverse patterns depending on the sets. Especially on the high class sets, they definitely do get specialty things that we never see here in English.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. But yeah, I really enjoy the Master Balls. The fact that you only get like one per box, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have to see. But I think no matter what, it's gonna draw a lot of people in. The 151 people love the Kanto. So
I'm hearing a lot of
um
vintage people that are very excited. I mean, even Pokemon Classic said it here on the channel on his, Choose Your Path episode here 2 episodes ago, that this is probably the first set in modern that he is already set and wants to get into. He wants to get into it, and he's been strictly in vintage. And so I think we're seeing more and more people with the vintage really getting excited for 151. So I definitely think that there's some opportunity in the 151 set to do extremely well. It's going to draw in some new people. It's going to draw in some new faces again. I just don't want it to pull in the wrong crowd. That's my only concern, is that we draw back into scalpers because this hot of a set with this much hype and FOMO, not just Pokemon people are hearing about it. We're going to be having people outside of Pokemon starting to pull it, buy UPCs and buy ETBs and buy all these, the Pokemon Center ETBs. All them things are going to go up really fast or disappear quickly, depending on how much print Pokemon puts out.
Yeah, this all the sneakerheads will get their bots going again, and they'll buy out the. But I think they got so burnt on the Zard UPC that they're like, I don't know if I want to touch this.
I know.
So that was a pretty funny situation.
Oh, that was, that at first I was all for trying to get one of those, and then when Target had that one thing, I remember like a month and a half before it got released, I'm like, I would hold off on this, and this thing might go below MSRP. There's a chance that this thing could get mass printed, and there was, you always get the people, this thing's going to the moon, it's the next Celebrations UPC, and it's like, yeah, there's really nothing stopping the print level of this particular product because it's just a card inside of their 3 promo cards that they could print right now today if they wanted to print more.
Yeah, I was victim of. I bought like 30 boxes, man. But I was mainly buying it for other people. I thought it was gonna be really hard to get. Even when it was like coming out that they were on Target. So yeah, that was an interesting situation. I still have a lot of them.
Yeah, well,
But I mean, you can't always only get W's in this hobby, right? You're gonna make some bad decisions because
oh
this
yeah.
market's so hard to predict.
Well, the other part is too, as I said, even though it's still a Charizard box, and overall, I still think that even if you bought it at MSRP or close to MSRP, you're gonna make your money back. It's just gonna be, once again, this is where you go from being a flipper to an investor, which may happen more and more in this market, to where you're gonna end up holding it for 2 years, 3 years, in order for this. Maybe after 151, maybe that's enough to bring more people into the hobby, and it's gonna change.
Yeah.
So
That's like needs some attention. Oh, there you can see her. Okay. This is my cat Ella.
Cat's visiting. What's he have to say about Pokemon? What's his favorite side?
She likes playing in the Pokemon trash and wrappers that I have so much wrappers from opening so much on live. But yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. I'm definitely gonna get a bunch of English 151. I'll get the UPC, but I don't think I'll buy 30 of them like the Zard.
I bought 4. I said no matter what, I think it's going to do well, and it's a good collection piece. But yeah, definitely, I bought 6 Zard boxes beforehand, and then I've bought more since. But I mean, when they were down at like $75 at some places for that Zard box, it definitely was worth the value at that point to purchase it. But I think it'll do well. I think overall there's some good opportunity in it. It's just going to take time now.
I saw that GameStop's still liquidating the Zards and it's on sale. And if you have a pro membership at GameStop, it's like $90. So there's a free advertisement at GameStop.
Yeah, there you go. Put your GameStop plug in there.
But yeah, thank you so much for having me on, man. It was a lot of fun doing this. I hope to do more Pokemon podcasts and talks like this. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming. Like I said, once again, I enjoy having people come on and tell their paths. And once again, that's the point of this, is to choose your path for someone that's new in the hobby, or even some veterans in the hobby that are looking at new opportunities. This series and podcast is designed for them to see how other people were successful in the hobby and what opportunities have presented themselves to them. And granted, it's never going to be the same for everybody. I could interview the same person, same people in the same area, and their paths are all going to be different. You're all going to have a different way of getting to where you got to today. It's just, the point is to see what availabilities are, how you were successful, and maybe that falls into someone else's interest to how they could try to do it also. So other than that, that's all that I have. Thank you once again for joining us, ZardHunt. Greatly appreciate you coming up and asking to join and giving us your information today.
Yeah, no problem, man. You have a great night.
Yeah, you too. Well, thank you. And once again, thank you everybody who's watched. Once again, we will be doing more of the Choose Your Path series coming up. We have Professor Oak joining us next week after this one. So we're going to have Professor Oak joining us for a quick tour of collecting in Pokemon. So join us next week as we go into that. Other than that, thank you everybody for watching, and we will see you next time here on Northwoods TCG.